that is not a new Lotus road car. What that is a concept car called the Theory One, a car that is supposed to, and I'm quoting here, embody the future of intelligent performance vehicles. Well, I think we'll be the judge of that, won't we?
Let's start with the concept behind the concept, because it's a bit complicated. This is what Lotus reckons the future looks like, and it's supposed to be part of Lotus's Vision 80 commitment to being a performance tech brand, and the launch of what Lotus calls the Lotus Theory, a design manifesto for all future Lotus cars that encapsulates DNA. Which in this bit of Enid Blyton's unreleased works stands for digital, natural, analog. All words that don't sit particularly well with each other. To be honest, it all sounds a bit marketing.
But just look at it. It's mad. I mean, what the f***? According to semi-mythical specs, this car would come with a 70 kilowatt-hour battery, which should be good for about 250 miles of electric range. It will be all-wheel drive and have 986 brake horsepower, sending it from 0 to 62 miles an hour in less than 2.5 seconds. So far, so concept EV. A lot of this got a load of Lotus stuff running through it. For example, this whole car has about 10 elements to it, where a normal car might have about 100. For example, the chassis and the tub is made up of recycled, chopped up carbon fibre, like that. The body is made of polycarbonate and cellulose composite, so essentially it's made of weeds. Even the glass is recycled, and then there's bits of titanium, recycled rubber, recycled polyurethane. It's very recycled, you get the idea.
And then there's the way it looks. A nose inspired by Lotus's F1 history, a crazy diffuser, drag-reducing planes, lightweight laser headlights. Lasers, people!
And then there are these kind of racy side pods behind the front wheels which channel air straight down the side of the car and into this kind of wasp waste and then out through that massive venturi at the back. Interestingly, the battery and the motor are all one stressed member, so there's no need for a subframe, and that active rear wing presses down onto that single unit, so there's less kind of elements of squish. It's all simple, yet effective. Even the underfloor is shaped up to push air back to this rear diffuser and make the car as neutral as possible. It's got a very sexy underneath. I can see knacker ducts.
It's even got bonkers, reverse opening, wrap over doors, and it's a 3-seater like a McLaren F1. I kinda like that. But what is the Theory One actually trying to say? To get the lowdown, I asked the Vice President of Lotus Design, Ben Payne, to explain.
So Ben, what exactly is the point of a concept car like the Theory One? What is it trying to say?
There's a number of reasons that we pursue exercises like this. So one of them, very simplistically, can be to just indicate the direction of travel. So what we're doing as we move forward with the design evolution of the Lotus brand and how we're going to bring that brand to life for our customers. This really is an exercise in bringing together, let's say, two worlds. So the premise of the vehicle is to, on the one hand, celebrate analog and mechanical engineering excellence. We really want to show that off. So it's left exposed. You can see it either around the outside of the vehicle or through some of the glazed areas.
I did notice that through here you can actually see the brake ducts for the front wheels.
Brake ducts, you've got aerodynamically shaped suspension, you've got the drivetrain fully exposed around the lower of the car. So the lower part of the vehicle is that celebration of performance car engineering excellence that made the company famous.
Mechanical stuff.
Real mechanical stuff celebrated. And then on the other hand, we have all of the latest generations of digital technology, intelligent driving capabilities and connectivity embedded in the upper part of the car, the kind of glazed element. So we're bringing those two worlds together, and at the same time for a Lotus, it must be an expression of automotive beauty, it must be a bold design, and it needs to give an experience to our customers and our fans.
Still got to make you feel something.
Absolutely. And the other thing with this car, when you really kind of get to grips with the interior in particular, is it's appealing to all of the senses. So it's really about pulling on the emotion of our customers and giving them that utter joy out of interacting with our cars.
So we've had like Eletre and Emeya. This feels much more Lotus-y. What is it about it that takes that story somewhere else?
Well, there's a number of factors there. I mean, the obvious one being it's a lower, tighter, sharper looking car in its physical presence, which is, in most people's minds, the core of the Lotus brand. Right? We're a sports car company. So this is taking a lot of the things which we've evolved and developed as we've moved into the lifestyle product ranges and the application of the technology systems that are in those cars. And it's showing everyone today what that means in the shape of a performance vehicle. So if you like, it's the first time we've brought that new generation of thinking and technology into a performance car.
There's a lot of detail. Just tell me about these. Because they're lasers.
They are lasers. So this simplistically is the latest generation of lighting technology. This is a laser wire module integrated into the car that provides the DRL function. So the down the road lighting.
Yeah.
The reason we've done that is because this is the lightest and most minimal packaged way to deliver that function that we can find today.
Which is a very Lotus kind of
Absolutely,
pillar, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the way it's executed there, it's actually a cable that's suspended in space and it's held under tension. So it's very much an engineered component. We haven't kind of done too much to integrate that or style it.
But that's real, isn't it? It's not something that you've faked up for a concept car.
No, that's real.
That is a real product.
That is a real product, a laser wire technology embedded there. There's two of the strips. The drivers are embedded in the carbon structure at the front of the car. And indeed, the main and dip beam modules are there as well. So this is just the next generation of technology coming through from the suppliers.
What is the emotion this car's trying to make me feel?
You know, there's a kind of perception at the minute that maybe as we move into new generations of technology and we progress into electrification, that maybe we lose something.
Yeah, okay.
You know, some of the spirit and the kind of more visceral nature of a performance car. With this, we really want people to understand that, you know, we can still provide that level of technical fascination through celebrating what is there. So this is very much about showing, be it you know, a very conventional piece of performance car engineering or the latest generation of tech, we show it. We make an integral part of the design and we celebrate it. So it's giving you that kind of very engineered presence and appeal, which a Lotus has always had.
So this is where I got confused. When I was reading the press release about this car before I got here, you were talking about DNA and the Theory 1 story and the way it tells a story. DNA being digital, natural and analog.
Correct.
Those words don't sit together very well.
That's intentional, it's the point.
Right.
So what we're talking about there is the tension between those three things and how we play with that to give you the right level of differentiator in the marketplace today. This is about Lotus doing what it's always done, which is standing for something a little bit different. You know, buying a Lotus is a considered choice. Yeah. It's not necessarily something for everybody. It's about appealing to people with the right mindset who want to express themselves through our cars. They ultimately really enjoy the sheer pleasure of driving, and they engage with a brand which is founded on, you know, engineering excellence and innovation. And what that means today is putting together something like this to demonstrate what that means for the next generation.
So how is that going to translate into future cars? Is there a plan to do something like this?
You know, there's hundreds, literally, of elements inside this car which are part of future work streams. So, you know, next generation of lighting will come to fruition when the business case, or let's say the balance between the price point and the volumes that we're playing with, can let that be applied. So that type of thing will translate. Some of the things that you see here are currently in our production vehicles in more of a lifestyle segment. So, for example, end-to-end autonomous driving capability with LiDAR systems and composite radar and cameras. That we have already, just we haven't done it in a sports car, so that's demonstrating that tech. The, let's say, challenge of 10 ethos we have around materiality. Now, we can't produce a production vehicle today with as little as 10 materials, but
you can try.
Exactly. It's providing that kind of North Star to say this is where we need to get to. But it's about overall direction of travel. This represents stylistic evolution, which we're going to go towards, you know, something much more pure and simple. It represents that celebration of engineering excellence, which is the traditional lifeblood of the company. And it brings together for the first time, you know, that real dichotomy, if you like, or conflict between the analog side of what people understand from the tradition of Lotus brand and what the new technology can actually give you as an amplification factor.
So you're saying it'll be in full production next year, yeah?
No, I've not said that at all.
Okay, so we've talked about the outside, but the bit that's absolutely mental is the inside. So I need a bit more help figuring it all out. This is Matt, and being the head of interior design, he was there to help me understand. Admittedly, it did take a while.
So here we are in the Theory 1, and I have to say, it isn't what I expected. For a start, central driving seat, which is very driver focused, couple of other seats, saddlebags for the passengers. But Matt, I was reading about this car and I thought this was going to be like a really tech heavy, intrusively techie car. Where is all the technology? Because this feels really pared back.
You've just described a car that's not Lotus. So we branded this experience Lotus Wear. And what that describes is an architecture, an advanced driving cabin architecture, a certain layout and a certain deployment of the technology and staging of the technology. So it doesn't stress you, it doesn't demand your attention. That's really what it's about. And that's born out of 75 years of experience. You know, we've spent time with Gavin Kershaw and before that Roger Becker, and we know numerically what delivers a good driving position and a good distribution of information.
So central driving position is obviously something that's very driver focused, and then the steering wheel or the yoke and the pedals all move towards me.
That's right. I mean, there's some obvious weight efficiencies there, and we believe it or not, we even have a weight tracker for a Theory a vehicle like this as well.
I don't like the idea of a weight tracker.
Yeah, it keeps everyone very honest. And the idea is you strip out unnecessary seat hardware.
So it's got a thing called motor skins in here, and that's one element of the technology. What are motor skins?
So Motor Skins, it's one of our technical partnerships, so we've had to look at reducing the inputs and reducing the message type. So we came up with this idea of touching the driver, a mime almost, a little nudge on the shoulder. So that's essentially what the seat does. The surface actually inflates, so we use these small bladders, pods, to alter the surface, so there's a kinetic movement. They can pulse and vibrate and deliver information that can be reinforced on the screen on the wheel.
But what for? So what, when you, for navigation, like when you're turning, or
That,
what?
that could be how you want to deploy it, really, is the answer to that. So it could be for messages, for row 2, you know, some information left to right. Could be about blind spot warnings, could be about incoming message. Can be quite subtle or configured to something more meaningful within the drive system.
So that's just in the seat? Mm-hmm. Or
that's in the seat primarily, because there's a lot of contact with the seat, but also you get it in the steering wheel rim.
But what do robot textiles actually feel like?
So there's different pads in the seat, and they're, the only word I can describe it is tweaking different parts of my body. So different buttocks, shoulder blades. They are though, that's what's happening. It's tweaking my buttocks to tell me which direction to go. I quite like it. Feels like there's a very small, you know, every car we drive, big screens, loads of things going on. This has a very small driver's information screen.
Yeah.
With, you know, there's a gear change selector on this side.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really.
Yeah.
You know, how have you pared everything back? Where are you putting all the rest of the information?
Here we've got a screen, transparent screen, overlaid with the analog physical buttons and levers. Yeah. So that allows you to use that canvas in the screen differently. You can reconfigure and repurpose the analog switches. So you've got that duality of function. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how we compress information. The distribution of information is about pulling content from there where really you don't need it for eyes on the road driving and putting it in front at the base of the windscreen. So there's another display there that gives you more driving critical information.
Okay, so what other stuff have we got that's
Yeah.
been spread out into the car then?
Yeah, rear camera system screens that at the moment are very transparent, so you get a sense of space through. We're not blocking space. So they will come on. There's a live camera feed through the doors, and that replaces the mirror system. And there's, you know, efficiencies for doing that in terms of you know, aero counts and what have you.
All right, this is a bit separate. What's your favourite bit?
Favourite bit, headrest. It embodies.
I do like these, by the way. They're squishy.
Yeah, exactly. So that embodies so many different stories. So we talk about reductive and 10 or less materials in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So it delivers seat headrest comfort, of course. It's an optimized form because it's printed by Carbon, one of our technical suppliers. It houses the KEF audio system, with its binaural
speakers, aren't
system
they?
in it. Yeah. And it's a structural part, and it has acoustic properties, and it mounts to the car. So there's a multitude of functions that serves, which is Lotus. Weight being the enemy of track time, right? Is pare all that back.
See, this feels like almost the complete opposite to something like Eletre and Emeya, which are quite divorced and very good, but they're not very Lotus-y. Do you feel this expresses Lotusness better than those cars?
I think this is a theory, and you're allowed to isolate the normal pressures of a commercial product in the market. So those products have to deliver on multiple levels in a very competitive market. So there are many different needs to serve. Yeah?
Good answer, that. But this allows you a bit more freedom to be a bit more specific.
This is a blueprint for the future. So we explore the ideas here that are true to the brand.
Yeah.
We explore new ideas so we can serve the past, we can serve the analog, we overlay with the technology, and we build a blueprint for a future experience that we can explore on future products.
Okay, cards on the table. I actually really like this. It's got a bit of concept car madness with some really very cool and practical ideas woven into it. I have to say, I was extremely skeptical about how you meld digital and natural and analog into one car without it being a confused mess, but I think this works. I like the fact that it's got nods to Lotuses of the past. I like the fact that it's not just a pastiche or some sort of electric resto mod. I like the interior, I like the tech, I like the ambition, I even like the robot textiles. But I was worried this was a bit of a sideshow, a bit of smoke and mirrors. But it's not. It doesn't feel like that.
We're probably all fairly accepting of the fact that Lotus needs more normal/popular cars to fund the production of more specific stuff, and the Eletre and the Emeya are very good. But they're built in China on a Chinese platform, are released in China before Europe, and though they're tuned brilliantly, they don't feel like they offer much Lotus USP. To me anyway.
If Lotus is going to show us what it can really do, especially for a brand that's going to be all electric by 2028, it's going to have to produce some cars that are really confident in what it means to be a Lotus. Now, I reckon that the Theory 1 might be the start of a really good story, but what do you think? Let us know in the comments.